ready for some Mortal Kombat? Here are the cast of Mortal Kombat. First, we have Kano, Baraka, Cabal, Quan Chi. It's Richard Davisio. Major Jax Briggs, John Perry. Mortal Kombat's true rock star, Mr. Kung Lao, Tony Marquez. He is Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, Noob Saibot, Smoke, and Superstar Johnny Cage, Daniel Pacino! And our special guest, the God of Thunder himself, Raiden, Mr. Carlos Pacino! All right, how's everybody doing? I gotta take a breather there. Let's wait until we're off. So the way we want to do this, obviously we want to do a Q&A. We want everybody to interact, bring in questions, get to know a little bit about, obviously, the game. So let's just start off taking questions. Who has a question? I'll come over to you and just raise your hand. I'll come running, low speed. I'm not a fast runner. But let's see, who has the first question? Who wants to break the ice?
I got the first question.
He's got the first question, okay.
No, just to break up the room, you know, we all have to get into this.
Here.
Gentlemen, each one of you will answer this question. Now, how did it all start? Seriously.
John Tobias called me first.
No. Let's get everybody's story, because everyone had a different game that they were in. And I want to know each one of your experiences of like, hey, how did this happen? Give us information. How did we get called in? All of that.
I'm going to go first on this because I've been practicing martial arts since 1969 for a really long time. Before my brother Graydon was ever born, I was already in martial arts.
Can't hear you.
I was already in martial arts. So when he was about, I think it was about 6, he started really drawing. You know, just practicing drawing. It wasn't that great, but he would like sit at the kitchen table and draw. And sometimes, and then all of a sudden I didn't even realize it. A couple of years later I saw him drawing at the kitchen table. He's my little brother. Sure, we hang out, but kind of like I don't really pay attention to him when I don't have to. And I looked at him, and all of a sudden he can actually draw pretty good. So I was just like, wow. So years later, he's still drawing. I thought he would give it up, but he's still drawing. And one day through a group of friends, him, Andrew Kadolka, who drew the first, helped John Tobias create the first Mortal Kombat comic book. And later on went on to draw the book for Nintendo, the little guidebook. But they're sitting at my parents' kitchen table drawing. And I would just watch them because as a martial artist, I recognize what a skill is. Meaning like, sure, you can do stuff. You can kind of, it's like actually listening to somebody who is proficient at guitar, play guitar. You know, they can just sit there and jam and stuff. So I would just be fascinated by their skill. So that is the beginning of that, of our journey to MK.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you say all that over?
Yeah, Rich.
Into the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh well, where do we begin? Oh my God.
From
this
the beginning.
is the 30th anniversary of Mortal Kombat. My name is Richard Davisio. I play 4 characters: Kano, Baraka, Cabal, and Quan Chi. Boy, I'm 53 now. I started this when I was 23. Like Daniel was saying, you know, we have a long history between all of us that started the game. And John Tobias worked for Midway Games, and even way before that, before the thought of Mortal Kombat, Carlos and I grew up together. We were more the same age range, but you know, Daniel was my first Kung Fu teacher. But Tobias, Carlos, myself, and even Daniel sometimes, we all just hung out together in the 80s, and you know, we just loved a lot of the things that were going on during the time, the movies, the genre, the films. Big Trouble in Little China, Enter the Dragon, you know, all that cool stuff. Little did we know that one day, you know, all those things that we loved that were so kick-ass back in the 80s would eventually make its way to, you know, a history-making video game, and it did. Boy, did it ever take off.
John, how did you get involved with Mortal Kombat?
Let's see. 1, 2. It all started when we were at Lakeshore Athletic Club. Danny was there, Rich was there, Tony was there, and you know, they were practicing, and you know, they were trying to do what we call jumps, high jumps. Well, I was able to do a very high jump.
You can dunk the ball?
So the Lakeshore Athletic Club is a really nice health club in the city of Chicago. And you were what, a personal trainer there at the time, right? And you would see us jumping around doing all this stuff. And I actually worked there, Daniel worked there, Carlos, Tony. We all just worked there together. But you'd see us jumping around doing a bunch of kicks and...
Yeah, and then I said, that's not a jump, because they was just jumping on that little bench. I said, then we have a big console. So I was able to leap up there, and Danny's like, oh, hell. You know,
It was about 4 feet.
yeah.
because you're like a bodybuilder, you were real flexible.
Yeah.
And so after that, you know, and then, you know, we would all talk every now and then, you know, in passing, training a little bit, giving tips. And then I didn't know Danny and them was actually working on a video game. And then he brought the first one in the club. And then he said, John, you gotta come down and look at this, you gotta come look at this. So, you know, I was like, all right. And I'm looking at it, got all these buttons on it, because I'm a Miss Pac-Man person, one joystick and no buttons. And I started playing around with it. I said, you know, he said, so how do you like it? I said, oh, this is a cool game. The kids are gonna really, really enjoy this. And then I made a joke, and I said, but is this one thing missing? And he said, what? There's no brothers in the game. You know? And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he came in with a draft of Jacks. And I said, damn, that dude, he drew to his head. He said, you if you want to do it. I said, do I get paid? He said, yeah. Okay, where do I go? Where do I go? And that was the journey from there. You know, so it's been a, you know, and then we lost contact after Mortal Kombat 3 and 4, and lo and behold, here we are again, 30 years later, you know, for the help of Galloping Ghost and John Tobias, because he was driving by the Galloping Ghost and they had a Shang Tsung fight night. And he walked in there and he said, oh man, you got all of the cabinets. So he asked Doc Mack, you know, does he know where we live or anything like that? So he looked all us up on Facebook, and we've been all back together ever since.
The Galloping Ghost Arcade is in the Chicagoland area, in Brookfield, Illinois.
Just gonna mention it.
It's one of the largest arcades in the world. It's probably about 1,000, almost 1,000 arcade stand-up games. So if you really want to, you know, live like it was in the 80s, you can go back and see all these games. But
That's a beautiful place.
yeah, but you know, and there, you know, like John was saying, they had a Shang Tsung's fight night, and you know, after the whole MK thing, it was like we really hadn't been doing anything. You know, we weren't used to like these conventions and cosplay and all that stuff. They had Comic Cons back in the day, and I do remember when they had this Shang Tsung fight night. And I'm just sorry.
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off. Let's get Tony's
But
experience.
hold on. This is
Let's finish that. Wrap that up.
Hold on. I'm the guy up here. You're down there. Anyway,
It's
so
okay.
Raiden against Kano. This is very important. So the thing is Doc Mack, the owner of the Galloping Ghost Arcade, called me one day and he said, I need you guys to come in here because I'm going to do a Shang Tsung's fight night. And I said, well, why do you want us there? He's like, don't you guys know who you are? And I'm like, I don't know, I work in the city of Chicago, I fix the trains, you know, that's my full-time job. And he's like, no, you guys are like, you know, legends. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Well, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm gonna have a Shang Tsung's fight night and I want you guys to come down there. Okay, so talked to Danny and we went down there and there were about 600 fans wrapped around the Galloping Ghost Arcade ready to meet us. And that was kind of like the beginning of the whole, like us getting back out there and getting a little bit more recognition, because we never knew any of this stuff really existed or anyone wanted to meet us or anything like that. We just went on our daily lives, and from that was, you know, all the convention scene, people would contact us and it's kind of like, you guys are still alive. Like, yeah, we are. And now here we are today to talk to all of you wonderful fans, and so glad to be here today.
We'll let Tony talk.
Yep, and Tony, how did you get your start?
But
Tony.
I had to fill you in that way, so okay, I'm done.
All right, so
Yes.
we all grew up together. You know, I knew Danny, Rich, Carlos. You know, all of us who were doing martial arts together or whatever. Like Rich was saying, you know, watching Big Trouble in Little China, doing all of these good things.
We met on Broadway, right? When
Yeah.
we were doing Praying Mantis.
Yeah, doing
We're
some
just
kung
trying
fu,
to make a little like insight of how we all got together.
Fast forward a little bit, and then Danny approaches me. He said, "Yeah, you know, we're working on some video game. We're shooting some stuff. It's a video game, and it'll be really cool. And I've shot some things, and we want you to be the ninja. We're shooting some ninja cat or something like that. I don't know. And oh yeah, that'd be cool. I'll do that. And then, like a few days before I was supposed to shoot, I dropped the weight on my foot. That's what I do sometimes, really early in the morning, and I broke my foot. And so Danny steps in, and he does that. He shoots the some ninja thing or whatever. And all right, cool. And, whatever they're doing, some project with another childhood friend of theirs or whatever. And that ninja was Sub-Zero and Scorpion. This game was Mortal Kombat. And this thing is like, now this worldwide phenomenon. And I'm seeing these cats like all over, everywhere. It's like, are you kidding me?
You could have been Scorpion.
I know these guys, and they're everywhere, and I love them, but where am I?
You got a broken foot, you gotta wait.
And so then, okay, and then it was really quick right after that, so they're everywhere. And, oh, you know what? We're doing another game. It's like, get out of my way, here I come, what do you need? I'm in. And so that cat was Kung Lao. And, I thank Danny, Rich, Carlos, and Jack was there. It was just to see these cats, you know them, you love them, and then to see this thing blow up and think, dude, I need to get in here too. And to then have that opportunity, forget it, and then that was just the most amazing thing. Obviously that changed all of our lives, but even from a very early age, I kind of always knew who I was.
You're Tony Marquez.
Yeah, so I always knew who I was, and this just happened to give us the opportunity to then
Show people who you were.
Yes. So thank you guys very much. Thank you guys for keeping this thing alive. Thank you guys for enjoying this stuff, for decades. So thank you.
Well, all very talented individuals out there and very gifted. Does anybody have any just quick questions or comments?
I've got a question. All of your characters have iconic special moves, but in real life, you're all very talented as well. If you yourself were drawn into the Mortal Kombat tournament, how far do you think you could make it with the movesets that you know?
Now, are you saying like, hey, we have those special powers?
No, I'm
Or are
saying,
we saying is it
this
a
is what I've
normal?
learned in real life.
Okay, and now, correct, but are we saying at this point, I'm fighting an actual video game character that has special powers, or just people in general, like normal people?
Like, you would be fighting up against Raiden.
Oh, right.
And I can fight how I want to fight, and Raiden has to use his rules, correct?
Sure.
Okay, well, we already answered that, I'd probably win. Because in essence, I'm both, right? You just said yourself, hey, but no. Well, fighting is different than actual video game fight. And everybody who does a martial arts will understand it. In reality, if we were fighting somebody who could shoot electricity, I mean, we're all gone. Right? Except for my brother, because he could probably put, Cage, you could probably put him into the hospital. But guys, answer the question. Let's start with my brother first. You're
Yeah.
fighting against yourself, whether it's you versus Scorpion, you versus Reptile, you versus
Yeah.
just in general.
To give them a chance, I would fight them all at once.
There you go. Next one, Tony Marquez.
Okay, so here, let me answer it this way. So we all train together. We're training together from kids through adulthood or whatever. So, behind the scenes, we would always be sparring, we would always be competing, we would always be, trying to one-up each other. So there'd be bumps, bruises, the whole 9 yards. Sometimes Carlos would get the better of me, sometimes Rich would get the better of me, sometimes the other way or whatever. But Carlos brings a specific skill set. Okay, Rich, also, that's why I love, it goes beyond Kung Lao versus Kano. It's like when we would train together, it was would always bring out the best in each other. Jax here, he has martial arts skills, but his strength is enormous. There's just no getting around this. But in all actuality, this guy would take us and would just grab it. He would grab us and slam us and slam us and slam us. A lot of times when we would be sparring, if you ever saw The Avengers, like when the Hulk grabbed Loki, and remember slammed him?
Yep.
This is a lot of the times when Danny and I would be sparring. And I was like the best one. And then Danny would just take me and and so that's actually how these things would go.
Yeah.
No lie.
Puny God.
Mr. Parrish. Mr. Parrish, you against Jax, who would win? Obviously, he can't jump as high as you. What do you feel?
I mean, me against me?
You against you? Yeah. Let's make it. Do we do you against you back then, or do you against you now? You choose.
I would
You
beat
choose.
the hell out of the one back then now.
There you go. There you go. There's the answer.
I am much bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah.
They
That's-
built them better.
And then now the half-hour answer from Kano. You versus Quan Chi.
Quan Chi? Oh my God.
I'll throw him out there, bud. I'll throw him out there.
Oh.
You versus Kano. You versus Baraka.
I think the old me, I'm sorry, not the old me, but the younger me would be better. I trained with these guys in Chinese Kung Fu, and I used to be able to jump really, really high. So I think any move that would be coming toward me, I'd just jump over it. But I just wanted to say, I'm going to be 54, and I've known Carlos and Tony and Daniel since I was 13 years old. It wasn't later until I met John Parrish, when we all met John, but the four of us here, 13 years old is when it all began in training. And I do remember, these guys were, doing 7-star praying mantis traditional Kung Fu. And I used to be a baseball player when I was a kid, but I got kind of bored of baseball. But when I saw, Kung Fu, I was really impressed, and that's when I started to begin my training. So, but yeah, it's been a long road, and great friends over the years, and it's awesome.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Here we go, right over here. I'll get right to you.
Good to meet you guys. You kind of answered the question partially. Just want to know, what are your disciplines in martial arts?
We'll go down the line. Daniel, Tony, John Parrish, and Kano. He's not Rich Davisio anymore. He's in character.
I started in 1969 with judo, Shotokan karate, and some Japanese jiu-jitsu. After that, I studied with Grandmaster Wei Lun Choi, who later on, Bruce Lee's student Dan Inosanto would fly in to train with him. And then I did, then I met these guys with the same praying mantis, so.
Raymond Lai.
Yeah, a lot of Chinese traditional martial arts before I did contemporary stuff. So, styles.
You gotta follow? Yep, no, go ahead.
Anzichuan, Piqua, some Shaolin, praying mantis, 7-star praying mantis, plum flower mantis, Hungar. I've studied, I'm a kung fu geek.
Yeah, made in
Bagua.
Chinese, right?
Yeah, Bagua, Tai Chi, Xingyi, yeah, do like 38 different weapons, so.
You name it, he knows it.
I just want to add
Chinese,
that
contemporary.
Hosung Pak, who plays Liu Kane, who's not here today, he's also another one of our friends that I met when I was 13, who Daniel met with Anthony Marquez when they began their training with 7-star praying mantis kung fu, and we were all really young at the time.
Tony, discipline?
Yeah, so I started with traditional Chinese martial arts and then did 7-star praying mantis, and then more competitive wushu or modern Chinese martial arts. Danny is the king of Chinese martial arts up here, though.
But you are the rock star.
It is what it is. And then, yeah, so, and then, you know, I broke off and did more of the competitive, like modern wushu, and then sanda, which is like Chinese kickboxing, Western style boxing, and then Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and
Kali,
mixed
right?
martial arts.
Kali Eskrima.
Kali
Yep.
Eskrima, yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Mr. Parrish, your discipline, and that includes what you're doing right now.
My discipline, I started as a kid, I think it was about 6, with just regular Western boxing. Then I saw Bruce Lee movies and I took a shot at a little Shaolin, some Thai kickboxing. And what I do now is I'm a professional bodybuilder. Okay, I personal trainer, wellness coach, fitness coach, nutrition coach, you name it, that's what I do.
Running, all of that.
Yeah.
Triathlon?
OC, no, I don't do triathlons, I do OCR.
But you could train someone to do it.
Yes, I train
Yeah.
people to do it. And I do OCR racing, for people who don't know what that is, that's like the Spartans, obstacle course races.
And he can eat a lot.
As long as you feed me.
And Mr. Davisio,
Well, I'll take you back to 7th grade. What is that, like 13 or 8th grade?
in McKinley Park.
Yeah. So one day I'm at
Wait a
school, and there's this kid, Craig Clifford, who's a good friend of ours. He had some nunchucks in his bag that were made out of wood that he made in his garage, and he started doing all these really cool moves. And you know, I had never grew up watching Bruce Lee or anything like that. I had never seen a Bruce Lee film. Craig was the one that introduced me. He's like, we'll go back to my house. I got some movies of this guy Bruce Lee, so we started watching, and he was doing all these cool moves, and I had asked him, I said, like, where did you learn all this stuff from? I'm like, this is awesome. He says, well, I learned them from my friend Danny, my Sifu, and that guy Danny happens to be that gentleman down there at the end. And I'm like 13, and Craig's 13, and so I said, well, I had to meet this guy. So I gave up baseball, and then got to meet Daniel and his brother Carlos.
And a good baseball player at that, just so you know.
I should have
Yeah,
said.
he's really
He was
athletic,
pretty good.
very
I
athletic.
would have been good, but anyway, so, but yeah, that's when I started my training with Daniel, and the stretching began. Oh, the stretching, oh my God, you stretched us out so much, and you know, we started, you know, doing, you know, I hadn't known Anthony Marquez yet or Hosang Pak, but I do remember one day Daniel, because during that time Daniel was on the northern side of Chicago doing 7-Star Praying Mantis, and I remember one day he says, I'm going to bring some guests down to where we live, and he brought Hosang Pak, Ho Young Pak, Hosang's brother, and Anthony Marquez. And these guys, I remember, you guys got out of the car, you know, and I was so intimidated. I mean, like, you know, I was by Craig's house and I saw, you
Like a
know,
bunch of
Bruce
monsters.
Lee and, you know, and everything like that. And I think even growing up, you know, like, I don't know, I mean, I don't even think I even met any Asian people in my life. And then 3 Asian guys are getting out of the car by Danny's house, and I'm like, man, these guys are gonna be badass. I know it, they're gonna know some shit. They're gonna be, you know, and they came out and they were friggin' good. These guys, even at 13, I was like blown away. But see, here was the beginning of raising the bar. See, you know, Tony came out, Hosang, Ho Young. I mean, I was like, you know what, I gotta try to stick with these guys. And Danny himself was effing amazing. And now I got all these guys, and if I wanted to stay there and do stuff, and Carlos as well, my God, if for me to just be able to hang with these guys, like I had to, luckily I had some athleticism from being a baseball player, and that's kind of what helped me out to stay with martial arts, so I thank all of them, and here I am today.
But yeah, but all of this stuff, you know, goes together because we're kids, you know, through our teenage years, even through adulthood, would all train together, and you know, nobody wants to be the worst guy, and so you know, we're just keep trying to top each other, and you know, Rich would do something, and then Carlos would do something, and Danny would do something. It's like, oh my God, you know, you just had to keep training, you had to keep pushing. And one of the reasons why I believe that, you know, there's a multitude of reasons of why Mortal Kombat is what it is. But one of those reasons is because, you know, these guys just kept wanting to do more, to be better, to win, you know, really in our lives, win this Mortal Kombat tournament. And it's that comes through in the game. I truly believe that it's the...
Don't you have a name for this, Tony?
Yep.
Tony came up with something a while back, and I love it. What is it called?
It's you know, it's not Street Fighter, it's not Pit Fighter, it's Mortal Kombat, and the personality and the pixels that really just kind of comes through, and you can feel that, yeah, you know, this is Mortal Kombat.
I will have to say, a lot of people will say, did you guys come from like an agency? Are you guys from an agency? I'm like, no, actually we knew each other from, you know, like, I mean, if Midway would have hired, you know, from some agency, you know, maybe guys that didn't know martial arts, or maybe they did, you know, they might not have known what they were getting into. Luckily, you know, John knew that he had friends that did martial arts, and, you know, it was kind of cool, like, we had already known each other and we knew what we could do. We each pushed each other. If I did something that I thought was a really high kick, Danny would still tell me, yeah, it's not good enough. It needs to be higher. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll push it even more. I'll push it even more. And that's what, you know, and then when it came time to do the game, even in the studio, it was like, none of us are afraid to tell each other, yeah, that sucked. That sucked. No one is going to believe what you're doing. So, and each of us has our own flavor for each character that we were performing, which is what you kind of came up with. It's kind of like the personality in the pixels that we brought to the screen. Even though it's sprites, we were still videoed, and we all have our own flavor on who we are and what we're doing and what kind of, you know, just what we were giving the character. So
Yeah, that individual, the individual character and development. Yeah. I have one real quick. Sorry,
Yeah, really
one real
quick.
quick. Go ahead, brother.
This is Ho-Sung Pak, Liu Kang, said, I will go last, so that way I can see what you do and try to one-up.
Yeah, that's
You
how
guys. That's how serious this was. So we did finish Liu Kang last because he wanted to see what everyone else was doing and then come up with cooler moves.
And then here's that experience, because this is not my version, but Rich, Daniel, Parrish, and Marquez are all correct. We tried to one-up each other, meaning we would find, like, oh, somebody's doing this style, okay, you know what? And this is just my experience. I'm gonna do drunken, because none of these guys are doing drunken.
Yes.
You know, at one point I remember Tony's like, I'm gonna friggin' do southern, you know? And then Rich was really good at the long hand stuff, the northern style, and very great at jumping, and we would always go, friggin' Rich, man, jumping again? You know, okay, well, I guess I gotta do 10 more jumps just to catch up to him. You know, but then Rich would look at, you know, we all would drive each other to achieve the best that was within us, and never competed to say, you know what, I'm better than Anthony Marquez. Never like that. And then when we met Parrish, you know, he's all ripped and cut up, and we're like, okay, we were working out a lot, but when we saw him, it was that next level.
Yeah, I
okay,
started
you know what?
lifting weights back then.
Yeah,
too.
gotta be ripped and cut up and everything.
Yeah.
But we had one question here, real quick.
Yeah, quick question. Mortal Kombat obviously was hugely influential, but it was somewhat controversial, as you guys no doubt know. What the hell was it like to see, you know, footage of your guys' selves on the floor of Congress as you guys were being, you know, essentially, you know, scapegoat? I mean, how did that? Do you guys have any stories about that, or how did that personally affect?
I mean, like seeing someone
Oh,
rip
we
someone's heart
got
out or
one.
something?
Brother, tell them
Yeah, Danny's
the
got a
instant
story.
with, you know, at the arcade with Mom.
Okay,
No, this is
yeah.
great.
Okay, so 2 things. So I'm sitting at work and John calls me up and he goes, oh, you gotta come in and see this. He goes, we finally got, like, because again, the process, we didn't know what we were doing. One of the first days of filming, it was the first day of filming, Tobias put me in front of his dad's camera and said, do something cool. And that was how we started to create the game. Him and I locked in a room for 6 days, 8 to 10 hours. So we did 5 or 6 days like that, just to kind of create a pathway to the game, because we didn't, his shot sheet was high, medium, low. And that was it. We coming out with stuff just all day long, hitting it. But anyway, he calls me up and he's like, hey, you gotta come in and see this. We finally got most of the character done. So it's Cage versus Cage, and he's like fighting with it, and then all of a sudden, he knocks my head off. You know, and when we were doing the game, we were going to try to do 3 fatalities, and my first fatality, I wanted to jump up in the air and punch a hole in the guy's skull, and he looks at the camera and he has a hole in his head. But then we filmed that, and John's like, man, that's really complicated to do. Think of something else. And so I was like, well, I want to, when they get to the point where they're almost dead and they fall to their knees, I want to just pummel them and then punch off their head. And so we did it, and that John was like, that's also too long. And I was like, we'll just knock off his head, like, who's the Japanese guy? Matsuyama. He used to punch bulls in the head and bring them down. So I was like, oh, that'd be cool to do. So he comes in to show me this, and it's like, he's like, this is so cool. And when he does it, I was just so shocked, because it looks like me, and your head's flying off. And I was like, John, you know, I knew we were going to do, you know, when we were first talking about creating the game, we talked about putting blood in the game, but I didn't realize, like, how the blood would look on a real person as opposed to a drawing. And I was just, like, shocked. And I was like, can we get away with this? And he was like, it's just you and I. We can get away with whatever we want. because at this point, nobody was really paying attention to us, you know, creating this game. We would say, hey, Ed, we want to do this and that, and Ed would come in and be like, okay, this is what you have to do. And then you need help, call me, I'll be in my office. Because it was a low budget project. So we'd just come and do adjustments and stuff like that, and we'd be creating all this stuff. But when we were testing the game out, I was so proud of it. You know, and John was like, John put me on the side of the game as a thank you for helping create his vision of a game. So that's the reason why I'm on the side of the game. But my mom comes in and she's like, oh, it's my son on the side of the game. And then she's watching Carlos, and I think Rich playing the game, and they do a fatality, and my mom whacks me. This is violent. Hispanic mom. You shouldn't do violent. Whacks her son across the head. So, right? That makes perfect sense. So that is the first, for me, that whole shockingly violent thing.
Carlos, I got a question for Carlos Pacina right there.
Yeah.
Can you, in that microphone, give us that Raiden call? What is Raiden saying?
Okay, I'll tell
Can
you.
you do it for
right
us?
now. Yeah, I'll do it right now. Ready? Hold on. We got a question here.
So you guys, I mean, obviously we know you're all lifelong, pretty much dedicated martial artists, which is awesome. But that means you might not get all that much time to actually hone your gaming skills. I'm just wondering if we roll a MK machine in here right now and run a 5-man tournament, who takes it?
You guys.
You guys.
Any of you?
Between I would, because I used to test the game and
Oh, yeah.
I did K11, did all of that QA stuff, but I'm not as good as those guys. The QA guys are, and the pros, they're, phenomenal.
Yeah, they
like
make money.
guys like yourself. You know,
I'm not good, I was just curious.
well, well,
But I like
you
to
know what?
watch
I
it.
would lose against my brother because it's just honorable, and you know what I mean. It's my brother. So we got one more question over here.
I got a question for you guys, including you. What's it like to be a part of the Mortal Kombat world and have many fans around the world looking up to you guys?
Here, let me, because I haven't had time to talk.
Yeah.
I want to address this. It's fucking awesome. But you know, what we want to say is thank you very much, because we look at it like you guys are our friends and not our fans, and we haven't met you yet. Seriously. Otherwise, without you guys, we would not be here, you know? Which is true, because, you know, we could have did the best game we did, and there are a lot out there, and just nobody ever notices it, but we're very thankful, you know? And guys, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all. 30
For
years.
enjoying our work, yeah.
Yeah.
I got another question here.
Knowing what you know about each character's personality, who do you relate to most in the game, like as yourself?
Well, when we were doing the game, there was no, oh, we're going to direct you. John just put us in front of the camera, and those characters are us. When you see Jax, and then you hang out with Jax, you're going to be like, holy cow, it is Jax, because Jax is John Parrish. Kano, Baraka, all those personalities are actually our personalities, because it's easier for us to act like ourselves during a crunch time than trying to whip up some character, because this game has to be done in 8 months. You know, so all the characters that you see and their personality traits are our personalities.
Yeah, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
So like, you know, for example, Johnny Cage is a global personality with fans around the world. And who is that? That's Danny Pacina. Let's just face facts. Danny Pacina, you know, global personality with fans around the world. Rich is really the
I'm a mercenary, I'm a thief during the day. Seriously.
But he's just like the regular working Joe who has skills, and but if there's money involved,
I might do something a little bit, right.
Just give everyone a warning. 5 minutes, and we'll finish up with Tony, and then get right to Parrish, please.
Parrish or Jax is a big, loud military man.
He'll
What
rip your arms
is
off.
Parrish? A big, loud, strong
Let's go,
military
we're
man.
gonna play some Mortal Kombat.
John, give us your experience with that, please.
Yeah, I mean, like Danny said, it's all about personalities. Major Jax Briggs is in the military. I was in the military. Okay, he's loud. I'm loud. Okay? And I give commands every day in all my classes. We're always outside. Jax is always outside. It's just who we are. I mean, we weren't cued to be something that we weren't. Danny just says, come in there, and be yourself. And here's some moves. Want you to try this, do some high kicks, get that jump going, and all of the backflips you guys saw in the video game, I did them.
Yeah.
And over and
No
over.
special
and over.
effects.
Yeah.
Okay, those boots are real military boots I had on. Okay, they were straight from when I got out
They were
of
pretty heavy.
the army. You know.
Rich, we got less than, let's say we got, we need the 1 minute version, and then we're gonna cross everyone
What's the
over to get to
question
like
again?
less
I forgot.
comments.
What was the question again?
Your personality.
Your personality, which one would you pick? Like Kano, Baraka, Quan Chi? Which one's closest to you?
I'd say probably Kano.
Yeah.
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 The loudmouth braggart.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of Quan
No,
Chi,
you're
do not question me, Serena.
Yeah.
More importantly, do not fail.
Yeah, and that whole
You've toyed with the ninja long enough.
And that whole get over here, that voice is Kano saying get over here. When that was happening and he coined that phrase, it was because Kano was not acting like Scorpion when we were doing that.
Yeah, real
He
quick,
was doing it
not
in
sure
the
how many
Kano
people
voice.
know about the whole get over here thing, but Danny was filming for Scorpion. I was there that day. I asked John Tobias, I said, are you gonna have any weapons in this game? I think Ed Boon wanted some sort of lasso or something like Wonder Woman. Danny's like, no, I'm not doing anything like that. This is a real fast story. I said, Dan, don't you have something in that bag, like a weapon? Because we always did martial arts, so I knew he had something in that bag one day. So he pulls out like this rope dart thing with an arrow on on a rope. And I said, and we were going back and forth, and I said, why don't you just take the rope and you just throw it into the other guy and it'll stick into his chest and you just pull him like this and you tell him to get over here. And I did an uppercut at the end, and then that's how, those are the 3 words I said was get over here, and voiced by Ed Boon, of course. Those 3 words, get over here, that's kind of how it came up that quickly. We would brainstorm, we all had some really kick-ass ideas, and it was just, we were working for pizza. We knew we were getting fed, right?
Yeah, it was all collaboration.
It was a collaboration.
John really always, at least, I didn't work on the other games, but during the
We had the
2
freedom
games,
to do that.
Yeah, the first 2 games, he always picked what was best for the game. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to tell you what to do. If you came up with an idea, then we would talk about it, but there would be, like myself, my brother, Rich, and Tony or John in there, and then we would start being like trying to one-up it, come up with a better idea for the character we work on. What if we do this? What if, Scorpion, John's like, blow flames. And I blew flames, and I was like, wait, John, I'm not doing this anymore. John's like, don't be an asshole. What do you mean you're not doing it? If I blow flames, my ninja mask will be on fire. Well, don't be an asshole, pull down the mask. And then Rich is like, what if he pulls down the mask and it's a skeleton, because Rich is afraid of skeletons.
Yeah.
And then I was
Jason
like,
and the Argonauts.
yeah, and I was like, oh, and his head is on fire from that other thing, and that's how Scorpion became the beast.
I know we don't have a lot of time left, but Daniel, you've got to
Yeah.
tell this story. It's my favorite story. Tell the story, please. I love this one with Liz
Now, 1
and the
minute.
butterfly thing. With the kiss. That's a great story.
Really,
Sonya kiss.
1 minute. So we're gonna do, John is like, you gotta think of something for a fatality for Sonya, he tells me. And I'm thinking, what if Sonya gives you the kiss of death? And John turns to me and says, she can't kiss anybody on camera. And I kind of look at him like, dude, we're ripping heads off and freaking doing all this violent stuff, but you can't have any sex in the video. And I was like, no, what if she blows a kiss and it looks like a little pretty butterfly and it hits you and poof, you freaking go up in flames. And John is like, we can do that. And I was like, so we can do that, but you can't, which is more violent and has than her immediately kiss on the cheek. And he's like, yeah, we'd get in trouble for that. And I was like, oh my God. So, yeah. So that turned out pretty
You
good.
created that fatality.
I created that fatality.
Very nice.
Yep. Well, we got to keep on schedule, and I just want to, and we'll all say this. I just want to thank everybody here who was our friend. That's everyone here. And we really appreciate your time. We appreciate you taking your time out here to enjoy these fine gentlemen here, and, you know, do we have time to stick around and just answer some stuff outside, or does anybody want to ask a question?
Midwest Gaming Class.
Where are we? We are
at the Midwest Gaming Classic, everyone.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
First floor.
Come here.
Does everyone know about
I'll let the sexy voice get on now.
the concert tonight? Does everyone know about the concert?
Come
tonight?
join us at the first floor by the box office where the tickets are being redeemed. Come on over and see us. You're going to see us right there. On the left.
And we'll be there, we'll talk, we'll hang out. We'll have a good time.
Tom, does anyone know about the concert?
Oh yeah, and then tonight, make sure you guys are there tonight for the after party.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Come out, plan tonight.
Appreciate you all.